Welcome to the Edwards Table. I'm Amy Edwards, and I'm joined here by my daughter, Maddie. This season, we're going to sit down right here at the Edwards dining table and have great conversation about my wildly messy story. And thankfully, there's a beautiful ribbon of redemption woven throughout that only God himself could weave through it. So super excited to be here. Thanks for joining. Grab a seat and let's jump in. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Edwards Table. So appreciative of all of you who are joining us again. And for any first-time listeners, this is my daughter Maddie. I'm Amy, and we are absolutely delighted to have you here at our table, where there's always a seat, and we hope that you feel like you belong. Over the course of the past few episodes, we've been just diving into Mom's story, telling all the things. And I think when we left off last time, kind of a rocky situation that thankfully got cleared up and we got under some understanding, but some professional counseling has been involved, and actually I continued that forward in what I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know in an earlier episode we talked about the fact that I had an abortion, and very painful experience, both physically, both emotionally. And at this time in my life, I was still in my 20s, kind of middle to later 20s over the course of what we'll talk about today. And I had done that back when I was like 21-ish.
Okay.
So for several years, just a lot of guilt, carrying a lot of heaviness in my heart and feeling so awful about making that decision. And in that time, I was punishing myself because I didn't feel worthy of beauty. So I didn't feel like I should be allowed to be in a body that felt beautiful and that looked beautiful. And so I know I talked about when I was pregnant with Quinn, I tagged on 100 pounds, joyfully eating literally every naughty thing ever 1,000 times a day. But once I had him, I never worked to get that weight off hard because I just didn't feel like I was worthy of that. And so I had never dealt with weight issues growing up or anything like that. But after having had him, So over the course of the next, I guess, 2 years is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So Daddy and I were talking about it, and we knew we wanted to have more than one child.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would have had a dozen, literally. I would have had as many as I could physically.
Right. I think you told me at one point, you said you wanted 6.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted.
I would have loved it. And I think that comes from being an only child, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just thought it'd be so cool to have siblings, whatever else, and blessings to all of you single or only kids out there, but also those of you who have siblings. Not always is that the case, so...
yeah, I can stand it. Yeah. Just can't let you know. Yeah, you love what you don't have. Let me tell you that.
More about that later. But yeah, so when so Dad and I talked about it, and we really wanted to have more children. And we had actually started trying, I think when Quinn was like 2.
Okay.
And then I found out that I had some fertility issues. So I did medicine for a year. And what that made me feel like and act like and whatever else, it took my hormones all over the map. And I was not a nice person to be around. And I felt miserable too. And so Dad and I sat down and talked about it, and we agreed. And so I got off the medicine, stopped worrying about getting pregnant. And wouldn't you know it, a couple months later, I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so went to the doctor, got my sonogram, got Quinn a Big Brother t-shirt, sat down and had him open a present, which was the t-shirt, and a little baby onesie that said, I have the best big brother, or something like that. And told our friends at church and all of our family, made it a big hoo-ha and to-do. And we're so excited, so very excited. And I think it wasn't a terribly long time, maybe another 6 weeks. And I woke up one morning and I was cramping really bad and I was not feeling great. And then I started spotting. And so, so I called my doctor, new doctor. If you listen to previous episodes, new doctor.
New person.
But here's what's wild. Actually, I went through 2 doctors. So the first one I went to, initially he had told me, back up. I'm sorry, I'm kind of backtracking. So before I found out I was pregnant, I kept feeling gross, icky, took pregnancy tests and they weren't coming up positive. And so I was like, well, this is weird. So Dad and I talked about it, said, okay, go to the doctor and let's get this figured out. Yeah. So I went to my newer OBGYN, who was highly recommended by a ton of women in Memphis who loved him. And I went, and again, I told you I was very overweight. And so I will never forget this experience, but I laid down on that table and his nurse came in, he came in. Now, he didn't do any kind of exam. And so he didn't check me or anything like that, but I told him how I was feeling and this, like, I keep gaining 5-10 pounds a month. I don't know what's going on. Still having a period, whatever. Well, he looks at me, no exam, no pregnancy test, nothing. Looks at me and he says, well, if you want to stop being a cow, I suggest you push yourself back from the table. Literally his words. His nurse gasped, horrified, came over immediately to my side and grabbed my hand. I burst into tears and he rushed out of the room. I found out a year later that he did not know, but he was undiagnosed at the time with a brain tumor.
Oh, that's right. You had mentioned that. Mm-hmm.
Oh. And thank God,
he must have felt horrible.
Well, right.
Like, I'm sure that's not the first time something like that happened at the clinic because he wasn't diagnosed yet. He must have felt so bad about that.
And to have to have the fact that I'm sure he said, like you said, many things to many people.
Oh, yeah, because when you have a brain tumor that goes undiagnosed, I mean, it causes you to become almost a completely different person.
Right. Well, needless to say, we didn't know the brain tumor situation at the time.
We just, we're called a cow and we're insulted. So.
Of which I already knew I was the set of size small cow, so whatever, but also I did not need to be reassured of that while I was half naked in a paper gown.
Yeah.
So went back to my girl group, was like, y'all, had the worst experience, and can anyone recommend another OBGYN? And I found my doctor. I don't know if he still practices. His name is Dr. Pickens, and he was literally by far the best doctor that I ever had. So go there, find out I'm pregnant with he and his staff. The big celebration because they knew I had been trying to get pregnant, was having no success and whatever. And he was who I called when I woke up that morning feeling awful. And so he said, just come on in and let's get you checked out. And they confirmed that I was having a miscarriage. And so I wasn't terribly far along. So they said, go home and be comfortable at home. If anything changes, if you need anything, I had his direct number. Like, I could call him and his nurse would answer if he was with a patient, whatever. And I did indeed miscarry at home. It was one of those things where I think because I'm an exceptionally private person, and I know I talk a lot, but I just don't talk a lot about really deep things.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I would not talk to people in casual conversation about that.
Ever.
No.
And I even struggled to talk with Dad about it, like what I was feeling and whatever else. Unfortunately, in the day of me losing the baby, I was told that was God's way of telling me I only needed one child, which was devastating to hear. And
well, that wasn't true, but
right.
On that later.
But I really, really struggled with that. And so I went back to the doctor the next day, they checked me to make sure I didn't have to have a DNC, which I didn't, thank God.
Oh, thank God. Then,
You-
a horrible situation, not trying to make any light of that at all, but the fact that you were able to pass the baby completely and there were no more issues like there was when you had Quinn and they left freaking part of the placenta in your body.
Right.
Great call.
Yes.
Good call, guys.
Yes. And so, so I tend to be a compartmentalizer that comes with dealing with trauma and whatever. And I took that beautiful baby trauma and put it into one of my Tiffany boxes and tucked it up on the shelf. And I really just kind of left it alone. Well, I had the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mommy during this time of my life, thank God. And I really started trying to be more mindful of myself, taking better care of myself. And not necessarily did I lose like a bajillion pounds, but I definitely was doing better about loving me, finding a group of women that I could do life with, going on date nights with Dad, doing some really special things with Quinn. So like, it was a special time, and I was thankful for that.
Yeah, and that's very important too.
It really is, and I think we as women really struggle. Well, I know we really struggle because we are wired as caretakers for others. We tend to forget and put ourselves always on that back burner. And so, so I was glad that I did that. Well, fast forward another year, and if no one has caught on yet, whenever I was finding out I was pregnant, I just, my body did not behave normally for pregnancy. I would still have a period, whatever.
Yeah, like, all right.
Yeah, well, and after Quinn, I mean, I completely got off of all birth control.
Yeah.
Because it wreaked havoc on my body, one, but then two, I got pregnant anyway, so it's like, why bother? Yeah. So I went in for, I think I had like a sinus infection, and I went to like a doc in the box kind of a thing. Yeah. And they always ask you, could you be pregnant? And I said, always, right now, yes. And so they did a pregnancy test and said that I was pregnant. So I was like, okay. So then I scheduled another appointment with my doctor, my OBGYN, and they did, because I had had a miscarriage, they were treating my pregnancy as a high-risk pregnancy.
Gotcha.
So immediately they did an ultrasound, and I'm laying there, and the technician was like, huh. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said, well, here. And she pointed to the screen, and she said, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, well, what does that mean? She goes, baby 1, baby 2, baby 3. And I was stunned, obviously. I really wasn't sure what to do with that.
Gosh, those, I don't know what brand of birth control you took, but those were the least effective. You sure you didn't take fertility pills?
I did fertility medicine the year before.
That's impressive that the birth control not only caused...
No, I wasn't taking birth control.
Well, no, I mean, but like you were still on it for so long. Like when you went off of it, was it in enough time frame to where you could have gotten pregnant?
No, like this was years later. Like I hadn't taken birth control.
I thought it was like a couple months after you had taken birth control. I was going to be like, well, gosh, I don't know what brand that is, but
don't take it.
Yeah, nobody needs to be using that. That's crazy.
Yeah, no. No, it was none. I hadn't taken any since Quinn was like 2.
Gotcha, okay.
And so I when I left the doctor's office, I actually cried, not because I was happy, but because I was scared. And of course, when you hear people tell you things, and a lot of times they mean it in the best ways and with the greatest of intentions, but they say things to you and you hold on to that sometimes. And I did, boy, you aren't deserving, you aren't worthy, you shouldn't have more than one child. I mean, just playing over and over in my head. I was so scared, in fact, that I even kept it from Dad. I was confident that I probably wasn't going to carry any of these babies to term. So very soon after I found out, I did get the courage to tell him. But I didn't tell him it was triplets. And I knew the likelihood of carrying triplets to term was not as high of probability and the complications I'd had up to that point. So go to the doctor, over the course of the next few months, go to the doctor, don't tell a soul. Pretty easy to hide that I was pregnant because I was overweight anyway, so everything kind of hid for a couple of months. But at 13 weeks, I went back to the doctor, and at that point, they told me that I was having 3 girls. Mm-hmm. And I was excited, but again, I didn't allow myself to feel happy because I was just waiting to be told, something bad was going to happen or had happened. And then I went back for my next visit and found out that I had lost one of the girls. Mm-hmm. So I had 2. And then went back for my next visit. So I'm going, I think, every couple of weeks, and found out I had lost our second baby girl and was, of course, devastated, but hopeful that I still had this third baby girl and that she was going to be okay. So I go in for my 20-week appointment, which is like back then would be when they would do your gender reveal ultrasound. Mm-hmm. But I was having ultrasounds along the way. Because,
right. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I went in, and there was a young girl that was, I don't know the title of it, but she wasn't an RN. I think just a medical assistant, mm-hmm. who came in with a little Doppler and listened in on my belly for the heartbeat and everything. Well, she comes in and she puts the Doppler on my belly and she starts moving it around, and there's no heartbeat. And of course I panic, start crying, get very upset. And she goes, well, I guess there's no heartbeat today. I think in her mind, quite frankly, I don't know what was in her mind. That to me, working in an OBGYN's office, you don't ever make a flippant comment about a baby's heartbeat not being there. But so Dr. Pickens walked in, and he saw me. I wasn't saying anything, but I was just bawling. And he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He was like, what's going on? And she said to him, I can't find a heartbeat. And he yelled at her. He goes, get out. Oh, get out now.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and he grabbed my hand. He said, or he didn't grab my hand. He put his hand on my tummy and grabbed the Doppler. He said, Amy, breathe. He said, we're going to find her heartbeat. It's there. She's okay. She's good. Just breathe. Sure enough, he takes it, puts it on there, and immediately a little whooshy sound came. Mm-hmm. And so he sat me up and told me, he said, listen, he said, I know there aren't guarantees in all of this. And he said, and he and I would have pretty candid conversations. He knew that I had faith in Christ, that I was a believer, and he was not. He was an atheist, which I found interesting as a doctor, but whatever. But we would have these candid conversations, and he was like, you believe in God, right? And I was like, I absolutely do. And he said, well, I believe that if you believe that, I think he's going to take care of this child. And I said, that's the hope, but never the expectation. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, listen, I can't have you going out there in the waiting room all hysterically crying. So he put a box of tissues next to me, and he said, I want you to sit here as long as you need, but please get yourself together. Promise me you're not going to go out there, because there are other moms like you who might be sad. And I was like, I got it, which helped to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. But they also had a back door. Mm-hmm. So the day that I found out about my miscarriage, for instance, they led me and walked me to my car, called me when I got home, made sure I was okay. They did the same thing for me that day. Yeah. Checked up on me and whatnot. So went through the rest of my pregnancy, got diagnosed with gestational diabetes, which was not shocking. Changed my diet. So, and interesting, this pregnancy, I was only craving healthy things. I loved salad. I loved lean meats, fresh fruit, and veggies.
Atonement for Quinn.
Oh my God. With Quinn, literally, if it was red dye 40 with a bajillion calories and all of the saturated fats, like, I don't care. That was what I was going to eat or drink during that time. So went through the rest of the pregnancy, and this one didn't deal with all of the feeling sick and whatever else. Thank God, no nausea, no morning sickness at all. And it was, fast forward into September, I had gone over to Grandma's, brought Quinn, and we hung out for the day. I was due, I think, October 13th. And I had gone over there, like I said, spent the day over there, just kind of hanging out, letting him play. She and I, hung out together, whatever. But for whatever reason, the whole day I was laying down. My back was starting to really bother me, and I just didn't feel good. I was like tired, whatever. With Quinn, I was induced, so I didn't know what labor really felt like as you kind of came to that. But finally, around 3 p.m, Grandma goes, I really think you need to go get checked out. You're just not yourself today. This isn't, and the whole pregnancy, I really had great energy, felt really good, whatever. And this day it was like, and no. So I called over to Dr. Pickens' office, and they're like, yeah, just come on up to the hospital. His office was attached, that building was attached there. And he was like, if I don't come over and check in on you, I'll send another doctor in the practice that I knew, and we'll just take a peek, make sure, baby girl's doing okay. I was like, okay. So I went in, and Dad came, picked me up, took me up to the hospital, and by the time we got up there, it was like 4:30, and he had missed eating lunch, and he was like asking the nurses. They'd hooked me up to all the machines, checking all the things, everything looked great. And they're like, she's really not in labor. Like, I think we're probably going to discharge her. But if you want to go grab something to eat, go grab a bite, because it'll take us, hour or two to get all the paperwork, whatever. So I'm there. Dad goes, and he leaves the campus of the hospital, goes out to go, there's a Wendy's not terribly far, and probably 25, 30 minutes later, all of a sudden, in my room, the alarm starts going off. Nurse comes in, checks. They thought that maybe the heart monitor that they had on my tummy, like the baby had moved around or whatever else. And so then they checked another way. If you're a girl, you probably know, and if you don't, you'll figure it out one day. But they put the monitor on the baby, and they did a blood draw, and all of a sudden, they were like calling the doctor in. They're like, Amy, it's go time. And I'm like, no, it's not. You just got done telling me we're not doing this. You're discharging me. So I called Dad. I'm like, hey, you need to get back over here. He goes, there's an accident on Walnut Grove, which is the road in front of the hospital. And there is no other way there. Literally no other way from where he was.
Right.
And so I was like, well, get here as fast as you can. They can't wait, is what they told me. So I also called Grandma, let her know that we're getting ready to go, and I'm actually going to have an emergency C-section. So they take me back to the OR, and our bodies are these amazing things that they talk to us if we listen. And I could sense that something was not right. And of course, all of what I've been carrying with me, I'm scared to death that, they're going to tell me that my baby has died, or, that I'm going to die. I mean, like, all these wild thoughts will run through your head. So Dr. Pickens, I said that he told me to go. I guess I have that a little bit wrong. So he goes on vacation once a year, and it happened to be that week.
Of course.
And so the doctor who came, I had not met him before, but I knew one of the nurses that came in. And so they were, trying to keep me calm, but my heart rate was off the chart high. My blood pressure actually was low. My red cell count was non-existent. So I was giving the baby all my red cells
Yeah.
to keep the baby going well. And so balancing all of the different things, I was getting to a point of being in danger. The baby was in a point of being in danger. So we had to do the C-section. 5 minutes before birth, Dad comes busting through the doors. They got him capped and gowned and all the things. They start, and when I had Quinn, I had an epidural. This baby, they gave me a spinal block. The difference, epidural did from like my shoulders all the way down to my toes.
Oh,
The
gotcha.
spinal block, they can pick where on your spine they put it in, and it's only for like a certain space on your body.
Yeah.
Preferable because less medicine, less side effects and things like that.
True. Just also.
Yeah. Right. Well, definitely not my choice. I wanted to do natural birth, but that was not going to happen. So the poor doctor and nurses that were with me. So what they do is they'll take like just like a metal, it looks like a straw. It's not a scalpel, but again, your girl laying on the table, not able to really look up.
Yeah.
And I see just the metal, and he's like touching me to make sure I can't feel things,
Yeah.
to make sure the area's numb. And I was like, I can feel that. I can feel that. He was like, Amy, you have got to calm down. Tell me, what is your baby's name? Tell me this, tell me this. And I'm like, I'm not calming down, I tell you. And I'm not a panicker.
Well, that's
typically,
just kind of freaky because you just feel like a dead animal on a petri dish getting dissected.
Well, and like,
that's like, how am I supposed to calm down about that?
I was mortified.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to feel the scalpel, the whole situation? And so, so finally, everything was good, but the alarms kept going off because baby's heartbeat, my heartbeat, blood levels, everything was just getting really off kilter. And so within, I think it was 4 or 5 minutes of Dad being in the OR, I delivered, and baby was born. They call out things as they're happening. So they call out the APGAR. APGAR was 0. No crying, no breathing. Baby was blue. I watch, because I can see kind of the movement of the room, and I see a nurse hit the button on the wall. This whole team of people descend upon the room, and they are all focused on baby girl. They're taking care of me and getting everything for me done. And the nurse that was with us from start to finish, she was coming back and forth and just telling me, what was going on and whatnot. Yeah. But it kind of makes me a little teary because, it was like everybody, the staff they were very hushed in how they were speaking. And so you knew it was a very dangerous time.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm crying. Well, I can believe I'm crying with what I'm getting ready to say.
Jeez.
But I forgot my tissue box. But it was the most beautiful sound. It probably took about 5 minutes. And that was when this one was born. And so I was very thankful, but they whisked you off and took you to the NICU. And the nurse, golly, I wish I knew her name. She was so amazing. She actually was supposed to have gone off shift.
Oh, gotcha.
Before, because it was like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I guess that was kind of the shift change time. And when she found out that when the alarms started going off, she said, Amy, I won't leave you. And she didn't. She stayed with me. And this is the coolest. So they get me all situated. They're like, they took me to recovery for a little bit, and they were giving me and Daddy kind of the play-by-play of you. And when we first got the first word, they let us know that they had to draw a PICC line in you because you were needing fluids, potentially would have to get a blood transfusion. They just weren't sure what all was going to have to happen. And they tried to draw the line. I think they typically do it like in the leg or foot, and they couldn't get it, so they had to do it in your head.
Yeah.
And then you weren't breathing. You didn't have to be intubated, thank God. However, you weren't breathing enough, so they had to put you on oxygen. And they were a little concerned about that. And so the nurse came to us, and she was like, I think I can pull this off. Do you want to go see her? And I was, we were like, absolutely yes, So she rolled me down into the NICU on my gurney and picked you up and laid you across my chest. So I got to kind of hold you for the first time. And then it was only for a moment. Like they were like, you can't do it for very long because we need to keep her in the oxygen. They had a little tent of oxygen for you.
Yeah.
And also had you hooked up. And so they took you back and laid you back in the little incubator. And we went up to my room where we landed. And the nurse came in and she said, well, I'm getting ready to leave now. She said, and the only reason I am is because right after Maddie laid across you, she said, we're weaning her off the oxygen. She just needed her mommy. And that's why I get so teary. And so the rest of the time in the hospital, you stayed in the NICU, and we get to go down and see you. And this recovery time versus with Quinn was 12 times better because my body didn't have to go through like failing kidneys and all the things.
Yeah, it kind of makes a big difference,
Yes,
doesn't it?
it did. And so brought you home from the hospital, and 3 days later, Dad woke up in the middle of the night so violently ill. And early in my motherhood years, I was a germaphobe, like petrified of illness. And so I tried calling Annie, and I can't remember. I feel like she was out of town.
Gotcha.
So I called Grandma, and they were, I think, down in Mississippi. There was like a casino resort situation there, and sometimes they would go like for fun or whatever. And they drove back at like 1 o'clock in the morning, came and picked you and me up. Poor Dad, left him at home. And maybe Annie was coming. I can't remember, but somehow I went with them. Annie came over the next day and the next few days, but he stayed sick for 3 days.
Ooh.
And I mean like really, really sick. And so we figured out that he wound up somehow getting food poisoning, and it hit him hard. But because no one else in the house got sick, and assure yourself we would have, because we were
Quinn
all
go with you
exposed.
when you were with
Yes,
Grandma?
yes. So they came and picked all of us up, left Dad at the house. Annie made sure he was okay. Grandma made sure that we were okay. And I was adamantly trying to breastfeed, and my body, God bless it, it just did not like that. And so more mom guilt for any women out there who have had babies and the way of the world and what the world tells you and whatever else. Bottom line, there's formula out there for a reason. I have 2 very healthy children who were formula fed. But it's wild, like thinking about all of that. And fast forward a year later, so I had all kinds of abdominal issues, pain problems, like just bring me to my knees pain. And I'd had this for a couple of years, and found out from Dr. Pickens, he did like an exploratory surgery where laparoscopic, where he went in and kind of looked in my abdomen to see. And he was like, I mean, you've got adhesions in there, which is like scar tissue that's attaching itself to things.
Right.
He's like, he goes, but Amy, the only thing, he goes, that should not be causing this kind of pain. And he said, the only thing that I can recommend is you having a hysterectomy. He said, because this pain is not going to leave. And so, brokenhearted again, I found out in December, and January the 3rd of that year, next year, I had a complete hysterectomy. And Dr. Pickens came in after I had the procedure done to let me know how it went. And he told me, he said, and I'm not trying to be graphic, but just to explain. So the procedure, the way they did it was the hip-to-hip incision.
Gotcha,
and the why behind that was he wanted to see my uterus intact, because that would tell him if
like
this
what,
is the cause and then what's going on or whatever. And it's good information for y'all to have too. And he walked in. I will never forget. He walked in and he grabbed my foot and was standing at the foot of my bed. And he goes, well, Edwards, I got to tell you. He said, I've seen some misshapen uteruses in my day. And he goes, I know, he's so hilarious. And he goes, he said, yours was literally the most oblong, disastrous shape I've ever seen. And he said, and medically, I cannot explain how you had 2 live births, because medically speaking, what I saw, it's an impossibility. And he said, so I guess that God of yours actually listens. And I looked at him and I said, and does exist, you can say it.
Yeah.
And he goes, not on your life, you know, and whatever. But he said, so whatever you do, make sure when you get home, you hug those babies. He said, because you've got 2 walking miracles that you had as a woman. And so earlier we were talking about, you know, I wanted 6 children. Well, I have 6 children. I just didn't get them the way I wanted them.
Yeah.
Right? And I think for a lot of people that can be a very hard pill to swallow. But not always does God give us what we want in the way we want it. Sometimes He doesn't give us what we want because it's just not the best thing for us.
Yeah.
But also, He very much honors when we're praying and asking for Him. And He very much honored my request as a mom. In fact, I'm actually the mom of 13. Y'all probably already have heard me say that, but we'll talk more about that next time. In the meantime, I just want to thank everybody out there, for tuning in. Maddie and I appreciate y'all listening. Definitely hit all the buttons, do all the thumbs up and the joy-filled yays and whatnot. But you know, there's always a seat here for you guys at the Edwards table, and hope you'll join us for next time. Thanks for stopping by, y'all.